I love that music. We call it the Twin, This Week in the News, which we've been using for now a few years. These are people, in fact, as I described it this morning at a meeting, these are people who did some special things by being different. And I'm going to talk anyway. So what I pick out people, everyday people, some more famous than others, some not famous at all. Most you've never heard of, and I'd like to tell their story and then come up with lessons of what we can learn. And this week's twin is about a lady named Kara Goldin.
Kara, who is Kara?
Kara Goldin. I'm glad you asked there, Mr. Karnak. Kara is the youngest of 5 children, and she grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. Her mother worked in a local department store, and her father, worked for ConAgra Foods. Now, you may not recognize his name, Mr. Goldin. I don't even know his first name. But you have probably heard of the successful product he developed for ConAgra Foods. There was a line of healthy meals called Healthy Choice. That he created that for them, okay? At the age of, so you know, Kara has some good genes there, good genes. At the age of 14, Kara got her first job. So you know, she wasn't into MTV, she was into doing stuff. And she got her first job working at a local toy store. Well, after a few weeks on the job, Kara's talent was there, evident for everybody. And after a few weeks, she was asked to assist with the purchasing of goods, toys, for the entire store at the age of 14. Kara went to Arizona State University, graduated from there, and got a job working in New York City, Scottsdale to New York City, working for Time Inc. So Kara moved to New York City, and she worked in the circulation department at Time. And again, Kara showed her talent. She started out as an EA, an executive assistant, and she worked her way up to managing the airline circulation for Time Inc. publications. Kara was then transferred to CNN. Remember the Time Warner CNN thing? Was transferred to CNN to work in advertising. And while working at CNN, she met this gentleman who turned out to be, he was an attorney. He'd be her future husband. They got married and they moved to San Francisco. So now Kara was from Scottsdale to New York City, Time and CNN, meets the guy and moves to San Francisco. In San Francisco, Kara got a job working for a startup. It was called 2 Market, the number 2 in the market. It was a computer-based shopping idea developed by some guy you probably never heard of. His name was Steve Jobs. This was his baby. And Kara was the national sales manager for 2 years at this 2 Market company until they were bought out from AOL. So Kara goes from Time to CNN to 2 Market. Now she's working for AOL. And at AOL, Kara was named Vice President of Shopping and E-commerce Partnerships, while her husband, an intellectual property attorney, was working at a company called Netscape. At AOL, Kara again showed her talent. Kara was responsible for growing the revenues of her division to over $1 billion per year. That's Kara. In 2001, AOL was acquired by Netscape, her husband's company. And Kara says, you know what? Time for me to change my focus. She left the workforce to focus around raising her family. So her husband's an IP attorney at AOL/Netscape, and Kara says, I've had it. I'm going to take off. Well, after her 3rd child, Kara got restless. She says, you know what? I want to devote my energy and my time to doing something special. And I guess following in her dad's footsteps, she says, I want to create and live a healthy lifestyle for myself and my family. Remember, her dad did create Healthy Choice. And here's what Kara states. Let me tell you where she was at the time. She said, and this is her words, her exact words. She said, I had just had my 3rd child. I was exhausted. I was 50 pounds overweight. 50. She's not that big a girl. And for the first time in my life, I had developed terrible adult acne. She says, I got to do something. Kara's an achiever, as you can tell. So Kara went to the doctors and says, Doc, what am I doing wrong here? Help me out. Exhausted, 50 pounds, and I got acne. Come on. I'm not a teenager. Well, the doctors did their analysis, and they said, Kara, you have a hormonal imbalance. And they prescribed drugs to balance her hormones. Kara says, okay. Kara doesn't take stuff at face value. So before she took any drugs, Kara says, I'm going to do my own analysis. And she examined her daily food and beverage intake. And Kara discovered two things. Most of the food that Kara consumed either contained sugar or some kind of sugar substitute. She says, oh. But it was when Kara examined her beverage intake that Kara made a shocking discovery. Kara was consuming 10 to 12 cans per day of Diet Coke. Diet Coke. To say that Kara was addicted to Diet Coke would be a major understatement. But Kara says, so what? How bad can Diet Coke be? It's Diet Coke. And when Kara investigated the ingredients in Diet Coke, which she had never done before, but she did her thing, she did not know what most of them were, but she did note that there was a sugar substitute with a weird name on it. And that's when Kara realized that the main goal of the food and beverage industry, which her dad came from, was not to keeping you healthy, but to keeping you buying more of their product. And this is her analysis. She says, food and beverage companies push the perception that the following descriptive terms are what matter. Diet, we see that in everything. Low fat, no sugar added, and you better count your calories. And Kara says, baloney. She says, you know what matters? Is the ingredients that you ingested, you put into your body. What are you putting into your body? That's what matters. So Kara did what I call the Kara thing. She did things her way like she had always done. And she says, that's it. I will not drink Diet Coke anymore. And along with some other changes to her diet. She threw out all the cans of Diet Coke in her home. You can imagine she had quite a few because she was doing 10 to almost 2 6-packs a day. And she drank healthy. She drank water. Nothing but water exclusively. And it was difficult because she was addicted to Diet Coke and whatever caffeine is in there, I guess, and the sweetness. But the longer she went without drinking Diet Coke, the less she missed Diet Coke. She says, I'm doing the right thing. She struggled, but she says, and at the end of 3 months, Kara had lost 45 pounds. She never drank, or would she ever give her family Diet Coke or any other canned soda again. But as many of us have discovered who have done this, drinking plain water is really, really boring. So Kara again did what I call the Kara thing. She went to her favorite store, which was Whole Foods, and she bought some fresh fruit. She came home, cut up the fresh fruit and put different pieces of strawberries and whatever she bought for fruit and put into containers of water and put in a refrigerator. Her family came in, take a sip of that cold water with the fruit in it, and they loved it. They said, man, this is really good. It's not water, which is boring as hell. It has some kind of flavor, a flavor that I recognize. Her family had kicked the unhealthy canned soda habit. And Kara says, there might be a business opportunity here. But then something else happened. When her kids played in the neighborhood, they would take containers, carafes, whatever it is, of this fruit-flavored water with them. And when they took a sip, what would happen? The kids would say, hey, what are you drinking? And they gave those kids a sip. And it wasn't long before Kara would get phone calls from the neighborhood parents. Hey, Kara, my child just came home and raved about this special drink that your kids had. Where can I buy this drink? And Kara thought, there is a business opportunity here. And then Kara did the Kara thing again. She's an analyst. She says, is there viability in starting a beverage company? She wasn't working. She kind of missed all that stuff. So, but Kara had some advantages that we don't have. Through her connections working at AOL, CNN, and Time Warner, Time, which became Time Warner. She had a connection, and she had the opportunity to have a phone conversation with an executive at the largest beverage company in the world, Coca-Cola. The guy says, yeah, Kara, I know what you're doing. Yeah, I'll give you some time. She got on the phone with this guy. She says, this is awesome. And she says, hey, I got an idea of starting my own beverage business, selling fruit-infused water that has no chemicals, no sugar substitute, and no preservatives. What do you think? And the guy went off. And he went on and on and on, telling Kara all the reasons why doing her, he called it a fantasy, was not a good idea. I don't know if he called it dumb. He says, Kara, don't do this. And the more he spoke, the more Kara was convinced she wanted to do it. Again, that's the Kara thing. Go left, she goes right. But what really pushed Kara over the edge was how this gentleman, who was nice enough to give her time, this Coca-Cola executive, how he ended their phone conversation. And these are the words as Kara remembers it. And it was only 7 words. He said, sweetie, America is in love with sweet. And they ended the conversation. Kara got off the phone and had 2 reactions. First one was, sweetie, how condescending, you jackass. How condescending. But number 2 says, you know what? As long as the worldwide leader in beverages believes that America was in love with sweet, she was convinced that there had to be millions of people who would love to drink something different. And Kara had something different. And Kara says, we're going to start my own beverage company. Beautiful. Kara does the Kara thing again. She says, well, let me talk about the problems, the viability of starting. What do you do to start a beverage company? And she did her research, which she loves to do. And she says, oh, crap. I've got 3 major problems. Problem number 1, shelf life. Since Kara insisted that her fruit-flavored water contained no preservatives, her water would not have an acceptable shelf life. And everything she says, she had to add preservatives to make a shelf life a viable product. She says, I'm not going to do that. I won't do it. So she kept on researching. She says, Kara, there's something you can do without adding preservatives that will give your water a shelf life acceptable to stores. It's called pasteurization, heating process. So Kara decided that she would be the first pasteurized water in the beverage industry. Problem number 1, solved. Problem number 2, okay, Kara, now you got to go shelf life. There's something called shelf space. And Kara found out there were over 2,000 beverages in the marketplace, 2,000 different beverages. And you know what each one of those 2,000 beverages wanted? The same thing, shelf space. They all needed that shelf space. And it was an all-out war, especially between the giants, Pepsi and Dasani and Coke and Mountain, all those other guys. And they all had deep pockets to pay the millions of dollars for slotting fees to acquire and hold on to their shelf space. Well, Kara did not have deep pockets to compete. But she had a workaround, an idea. And she says, you know what, for now, I'm just going to shelve this problem. I know it won't stop me. She tabled that problem. Problem number 3. She needs a company name. Names are critical. When you're in a consumer business, names are critical. So her and her husband tossed around different names, but they couldn't agree on a name. They just couldn't agree. And Karen said, she did her mind thing. She said, let me think out loud. She says, my water is special and different, and the kids love it and the family love it because it has a hint of fresh fruit in it. She says, duh, let's call the company Hint Water. And Kara's husband, and it being an IP attorney, says, Kara, great idea, but there is no way that a 4-character name like Hint would be available for trademark. She says, let's keep coming up with other alternatives. Kara did a Kara thing. She says, you know what? But what if it's available? Let's apply for the name Hint Water. He did, and it was available. Problem number 3, solved. So in 2005, Kara Goldin launched her company called Hint Water.
In 2004, I began selling homemade fruit-flavored water out of my garage as a healthy, sugar-free drink alternative for my friends and neighbors. My name is Kara Goldin, and I'm the founder and CEO of Hint Water, and this is my first dollar story. I realized that this could be a viable business. So I quit my day job, and with my husband, Theo, as Chief Operating Officer, I started Hint Water. I found the benefits on the Business Platinum card from American Express Open provided my business with the support I needed to grow. It might not sound like much, but our first dollar spent on the card was on bottle caps, which has helped us just expand. Really excited to launch our e-commerce initiative. Beverage companies today don't typically sell direct to consumers. As we expand to more cities, I love having access to some airport lounges when I travel. When I step into a lounge, I get to decide what my priorities are while I'm waiting for a flight. Sometimes that means I'm hopping on a video conference. Other times, I'll just wait to get a bite to eat. It's nice to have a little bit of control over my travel experience. The Business Platinum card can help put the way I travel back on my terms, which is good because there's a whole world out there that's waiting for Hint Water.
And oh, by the way, the day she launched, she was pregnant with her fourth child. And Kara challenged herself. She says, my goal is I want Hint Water on the grocery shelf before I go into labor for my fourth child. Whoa. 6 months, 7 months, 9, we know it's 9 months max. How is she going to do that? Kara loves a challenge. As I told you, her favorite store was the local Whole Food store. So she went in and she approached a gentleman who was stocking shelves at her Whole Foods. And she says, she says, where can I find your water? We sell water, and water that has no preservatives and no sugar and is food-infused water. And he took her to the shelf. So here they are. There was vitamin water. She says, no. She said, that's not what I'm talking about. She says, I'm talking about fruit-infused water. She tried it again. And he says, oh, we don't have anything like that. She says, aha, an opening. And she told the stock clerk that she was developing a product, and she described it. And she said to the clerk, hey, if I develop this product, will you put it on the shelf for me? And he says, okay, sure, lady. And she walked out. And she's thinking to herself, I'm sure he thinks I'm some kind of a nut, that I will never do it, but I'm taking him at his word. So Kara went home and started developing this thing called Hint Water. Remember, she had a time limit. Get it on a store shelf before she goes into labor. Kara developed a product, packaging and everything else, and the bottling, everything else. She's a doer. And son of a gun, the product was ready to sell the day she was scheduled to do she was a C-section. She knew when she was going to go into labor that afternoon. And remembering that her promise to herself to get Hint Water on the shelf by the time she goes into labor, Kara said to her husband, before we go to the hospital, let's stop at our Whole Food store because I want to get Hint Water on the shelf before I deliver our son. And her husband says, really, Kara? He says, what are you, nuts? Why don't we just wait a week? It'll be fine. And Kara says, no. It'll make me feel better. Well, he did not want to upset a pregnant lady about to go into labor, so he drove her and 2 cases of Hint Water to that local food store, Whole Food store. They walk into Whole Foods with 2 cases of Hint Water. They walk in with stuff. And Kara approached the same stock clerk and says, hi, do you remember me? This may be a few months later. He looks at her and says, man, you are really pregnant, because she's going to deliver in a few hours. And she says, yeah, I know, right. She says, oh, by the way, I brought you 2 cases to put up on the shelf. And the clerk says, what the hell's going on? He thinks, what the hell's going on here? He's got this puzzled look. She says to him, to the clerk, says, look, I'm actually delivering a baby this afternoon, so I may be out of pocket for a couple of days, so just call my cell phone. And the clerk says, wait, what do you want me to do? She said, what are you talking about? She said, well, I want you to put it on the shelf. You said that you were going to put it on the shelf if I developed a product, so here it is, I developed a product. And the clerk goes, oh. Karen and her husband hand him 2 cases of Hinton water, and they walk out to the hospital, walk out the door, and he drives her to the hospital. They had no idea what the guy was going to do, whether he would actually put on the shelf or not. Kara goes to the hospital, has a seat, delivers her son. The next day, they're sitting in the hospital room, and her cell phone rings. And her husband answers, and she says, Kara says, who is it? And it's the guy from Whole Foods. He says, your product is gone. And Kara gets upset. She takes the phone from her husband and says, son of a gun. I don't know what she said. She says to the clerk, who took our product? Did one of those other beverage companies take it away so we couldn't sell it? And the clerk says, no, lady, it's sold out. When can we get more product? A few months after that, one of the Whole Food shoppers who had purchased Hinton water worked at Google. And he called Kara and he says, hey, Kara, Google is opening up a new building in Silicon Valley, and we're building a healthy kitchen and cafeteria for our employees. And I told him about your water. Can you supply us with Hinton water for Google? And as they say, the rest is history. What about that problem she tabled about shelf space? Remember I said about shelf space? Remember, Kara was successful in building an e-commerce division for AOL. So Kara says, I don't need shelf space. I'm going to sell Hinton water direct to consumer. That's what she did at AOL, e-commerce. And she does sell Hinton water on her website, hintonwater.com, and also on Amazon. Now, if any grocery chain wants to stock Hinton water because customers like to buy it, they have to call Kara and ask her if they can stock Hinton water on their shelves. How's that for a turn of events? They're calling her. By the way, in our local area, I found Stater Brothers, Walmart, and CVS carry Hinton water. And since I am now a Hinton water fan, and I am big time, I only shop at Stater Brothers for my groceries. Kara has been named Fortune's list of the most powerful women entrepreneurs. Kara has been named the Forbes 40 woman to watch over 40. And Ernst & Young last year named Kara Goldin Entrepreneur of the Year for Northern California. Not bad for a 14-year-old girl who started her career working at a local toy store. Kara Goldin. So I looked at that, and I read her things, and I did my thing. I did the Frank thing. And I says, what are the 3 business lessons I can pick out for entrepreneurs? Lesson number 1, Kara noticed a problem and decided to solve it. When Kara started her career as 14 years old working at this toy store, or working at Time Inc. with airline circulation, or working at AOL doing the thing for e-commerce, she had no idea. She knew nothing about beverage. That wasn't her plan. Her success was building e-commerce at AOL. But when Kara had the problem of finding a healthy alternative to drinking sugar watered, Kara said, there's a problem. I'm going to solve this problem myself. She filled the gap. Question, what problem have you noticed in your industry that you could solve? And why haven't you? Lesson number 2, Kara became obsessed with completing her mission, which is opening Hinton water. Once Kara decided to start a company called Hinton water, nothing was going to stop her, as I told you in the story. She had a mission to accomplish, start Hinton water, and I talked about that this morning. I compared Kara to a Navy SEAL. Can you imagine a Navy SEAL returning to his command and say, hey, Commander, we couldn't complete our mission. The door was locked. They wouldn't open it for us. And I didn't have a key, so what do I do now? That would never happen. Kara had a problem in shelf life. She fixed it. Kara had a problem on getting the product on the store before labor. She solved it. What obstacle is stopping you from growing your business? I read a great quote this week that really hit me. And here's the quote. It was geared toward people that we want to talk to. I should have used this quote this morning. Here's the quote. If you have a problem that can be solved by you taking action, that is not your problem. The problem is you have a lack of will to succeed. You know the solution. It's you. You're the problem, not that obstacle. You are the problem. Kara doesn't let anything stop. She's a Navy SEAL. She finds a way or makes a way. And number 3, Kara knew her target market. She did not want to market to people who enjoy drinking Diet Dr. Pepper. If you're happy, continue it. Kara's marketer says, you know what? She wanted to target people who wanted a healthy alternative to canned soda, and targeted people who, for health reasons, wanted to drink more water but found it boring as hell. She gave them a flavored, healthy drink. Question is, who is your ideal prospect? Do you have a marketing campaign dedicated specifically to them? If not, why not? And that's my Kara Goldin story for this week.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Hint water.
By the way, I was drinking something called Cascade, which had no calories, no sugar added. I looked at the ingredients. There's something called sucralose, which is a sugar substitute. When I started drinking drink water, I had one bottle left in the refrigerator. It's still there. I'll keep it there as my motivator. I love hint water, and Seder Brothers has 4 flavors. I'm addicted to the peach. Oh God! You open the hint water, and it's like a bottle of wine. You take a sniff, and all you can smell is fresh peaches. And as you're drinking it, because the mouth of the bottle is bigger, you inhale as you're drinking the water. The peach goes through your nose. It is awesome. It is awesome. So anyway, so that's hint water.
Wow.